Hey guys, welcome to Dad Mods. If you're new here and why you should consider subscribing is I'm a dad and I modify everything that I can get my hands on. Whether that is a 70-some-year-old classic car, motorcycles, track car. I got a track Camaro outside right now. Got snow on top of it, I feel terrible about that. Or it's go-karts, or it's actually things for the garage, which is exactly what we're doing today. Here's the game plan, and here's kind of some background on why I'm gonna be doing what I'm doing. So when I built this garage, there was a handful of areas that I kind of had to, I wouldn't say skimp on, maybe I'd say skimp. I didn't have a ton of money, and one of the things I decided I wanted to go a little cheaper on were the garage doors. And I really kind of wish that I wouldn't have, but this has worked out pretty good up to this point, but the trade-off has been that it's hideous. So I've got a 9x7 garage door. I picked it up as an uninsulated garage door, and then I put an insulation kit into it. Well, it works, but as you can see, it's, you know, very ugly. I've also got tracks that sit way too far down from the ceiling, and the plan for today is to tuck those up as far as I can, sheet the inside of the garage door, paint it, and try and give it a little bit of character in the process. So, thanks for tuning in. Let's just jump into it. So we got roughly 9 3/4 inches to the light. Now this might be sagging a tiny bit, so we'll call it 9.5. So you got to think that the garage door sits above the track, so that's something that you gotta consider. Especially the very top piece. When the door is down, the top piece is the tallest piece because it has that spacer. At least on this particular door, it has a taller spacer on the end of it, so that it still holds the door tight against the wall for the opening, because it's on the curve. So that's about 4.5 inches to the bottom of the roller. So you got to figure, you're going to have to knock off that good 4.5 inches there. So if you've got 9.5 and you're taking 4.5 out of that, you got 5 inches that you can potentially raise it. And since we're kind of rounding, I'd say if we raise this thing 5 inches and see where it's at, that's probably going to be all right. Looking up here, realize this guy's got a ton of adjustment in it, so I'm gonna play around with that rather than cutting on the curve. So far I'm gonna try this first. Instead of cutting on that curve up there, I'm gonna try and slap this straight piece in there and maybe cock it ever so slightly. That way we make sure that everything clears as the door is coming down, but then I'm not kind of messing with that nice arc. So what might end up happening is I might have to drill a hole down on the end here, because that's going to push that side further into the garage, but this might be nice, then I'm not messing with the actual curve itself. And I can use that bracket down there, so. looks okay. Now, I would have liked to have used the thicker material so that you don't end up with some of the waves that are in it. You could probably use like a 1/4 inch plastic, but the problem comes in where you're dealing with, there's gonna be a tiny bit more weight. It's probably not gonna add that much more, but the cost is significant. This stuff was, 27 bucks a sheet, and the 1/4 inch HPDE plastic, 1/4 inch stuff was closer to like 70 bucks a sheet. So it's like, yeah, I spent 120, you could spend 250 on the other kind of plastic. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to tape and mask off because I don't have my dust collection system in here yet. So I'm gonna tape and mask off, and then I'm going to spray this with that paint now. So we've got the whole thing painted now, and I think it turned out pretty damn good. Now I'm gonna try and do a little bit of like graffiti, if you want to call it that, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm not good at graffitiing. In fact, I called it graffitiing, which should probably tell you how little I actually know about it. But I've done a little bit of stuff. Like I did the cooler on the go-kart drift cooler thing that I had made a while back. And that turned out super cool. And that was a lot of like stenciling. So I'm going to try and like use some stencil stuff today. And I'm going to be using fine line to try and give myself like good lines on this thing. And I'm just kind of I'm just rolling with it. I have no idea what I'm doing. I started with a black background, and in retrospect, I probably should have used something not black because I'm going to try and outline everything in black, but whatever. Maybe I'll use a different dark color or something like that, or maybe a silver as an outline, but I'm going to get this started first and then kind of just see how it's starting out and then go from there. So wish me luck, guys, that I'm not going to have to try and paint over all of this again with another shade of black. out pretty cool. I got a few other things that I think I want to do to it just to give it a little bit more character. I like it. I think it looks alright. I'm not a great spray painter, graffiti artist, whatever the fuck you'd want to call it. It turned out alright, and I'm satisfied. And I couldn't think of anything better to put on it. And I build a lot of shit, so it's kind of like a statement to myself. It's like, build! Keep going, keep doing stuff. So anyway. So we've got the rails, they're all mounted up a little bit higher, and now I need to put the extension springs back in. So we're going to stick with extension springs for the time being, because I have them, and I mean, they work alright. Eventually, there might be a part 2 of this video in the future at some point. I might convert to torsion springs, which will mount on the wall above the thing, and then you don't have these big crazy extension springs to deal with. And the benefit of that is that you can get garage door openers that attach to the side of the extension spring, like rods or whatever that stick out. So that's kind of cool. I'd love to have something like that. But what I did was I picked up some new cables for the extension springs because by moving up the tracks higher, I know that I also will have to make changes to the existing cables, and these are kinked, so I don't feel super good about like undoing that kink and then having to kind of move the placement of like these little steel plates here. So I just picked up new ones, and we're going to take those and actually turn them into these safety cables, which will run through the inside of the spring, so that way if the springs if anything ever comes loose, the spring doesn't go launching across the room, potentially into your face or your car or whatever. It will be contained on the cable itself, so it'll just kind of go boing and just stay put, just like that. That's exactly how it happens. So that's the next thing. This is gonna suck because it's cold and windy outside, but I'm gonna have to open up the big door and try and muscle this thing up, and then use C-clamps and hold it up so you guys get to watch maybe an epic fail. And I'll get those up there, and then I'm gonna install the extension springs and hopefully do this as quickly as I can so I don't lose every bit of heat that's in this garage. So let's do that now.
Hell yeah.
ladies and gentlemen, I think that might wrap this thing up. All in all, I think this turned out pretty cool. The design's fun. I'll do a little bit more stuff to it yet, but you guys don't need to necessarily worry about that in the video. The most important part is that now I've got a lot better spacing to the ceiling, and I actually could have gone up probably another couple inches, but all in all, this is much better, kind of gets it out of the view. So I'll kind of close this thing out by cutting that sucker off and a little bit of B-roll, and I guess we'll see you guys on the next video. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see ya.